How far can this backcourt of Blackwell and Boyd lead the Badgers this year? We're diving into each player's strengths, weaknesses, synergy data. Let's go. Hoops are almost here.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans, Badger basketball fans? What is going on? We are at Basketball Eve. This is like Christmas Eve, the night before the storm. The Badgers tip it off tomorrow. If you're watching it live right now, the Badgers tip it off tomorrow. I can't wait for this team. I can't wait for the season. I'm so excited. I love hoops. I mean, I love football too, but man, I love hoops. And I'm so excited to get after it. Today's episode, first of all, thank you for being here. This is Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for being an everydayer, being part of this community, for participating in the Discord and in the live shows and on Twitter and watching it later. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Your team every single day, as you know. Today's episode, we're breaking down Blackwell, Boyd, Rhode, and Jack Janicki, just giving you kind of a reminder or a look, diving deep into some of the stats on each player, where they win, and questions for each player coming into this season. And without further ado, let's just get into it. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, throw them in the chat. Let's start with John Blackwell. We're going to start with John Blackwell. We got good. We got questions. Let's start with the good with John Blackwell. He's just an isolation, tough bucket getter. So all these stats, if you see 84th percentile, all these stats are off synergy. 84th percentile, 100 is the best. 1 is the worst. So he's in the 84th percentile in ISO scoring, in points per possession. So, and that's because he's a 3-level scorer. Again, if people need kind of a reminder of who John Blackwell is, this is kind of a refresher heading into the season tomorrow. 84th percentile ISO scorer, which again is because he can shoot the 3, he can score at the rim, he can score in the mid-range. He's just an isolation tough bucket getter. And a team needs that. You need a guy who, end of shot clock, can go and get a bucket against tough perimeter defenders. You need a guy who you can throw the ball to with 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and he can go up and he can get a bucket. That's what Blackwell is for this team. He is the bucket getter. A physical defender, can play in isolation, handle penetration. 67th overall percentage in points per possession across all defensive field goal possessions. So that's taking into account shots at the rim, shots in the perimeter, guarding pick and roll. He's in the 67th percentile defensively. And it's what you look at when you look at Blackwell defensively. There's not an area that jumps out as, man, he's elite at that, but he's pretty good on the perimeter. He's pretty good against penetration. He's pretty good against jump shots. He has the physical size to match up with tough guards. He's got enough athleticism to move his feet. He is just a versatile, strong defender that can match up in the post. He can match up on the perimeter. He needs to be consistent with it. I think that's what you're looking for this year. Can he take a jump there? But he has consistency. And then it's just a good high offensive IQ player. 77th percentile on cuts, 65th percentile pick and roll ball handler. Again, all stats per synergy.com. This is a player that just understands offensive basketball. He understands space. He understands how to move. He understands how to jump off 2 feet. As a really good cutter, good pick and roll ball handler. Again, you saw that last year. This year, Blackwell's going to be getting moved really into more of a shooting, scoring, slashing option. But last year, he did a lot of ball handling because he had to. He was much more the point guard, the pick and roll initiator. Boyd's going to do more of that this year. But you still have Blackwell in the back pocket if you're Greg Gards. You can still set him up. Again, he's 65th percentile as the pick and roll ball handler, great cutter, good offensive rebounder. He just understands offensive spacing. Really, really good player in that aspect. Questions. Is there a next level? Like, what's the next level for John Blackwell? Can he take a jump offensively from an efficiency standpoint? Can he get to 20 points a game? Defensively, can he become an elite perimeter defender? Like I said, he was good last year. He was good as a perimeter defender last year. Can he get to elite? I think that's the next question for John Blackwell. What is the actual ceiling here? I think the floor is incredibly high. He's going to score. He's going to defend. He's going to, get into the paint. But can he take another step defensively? And if he does, then he needs to become a little more consistent defensively. And then you have a two-way star. Improved transition scoring. That's just an area where a couple players on this team last year, for a team that wants to push the ball, they want to play fast. He was 24th percentile in transition offense last year. It's surprisingly low. And he's not, I think some of that is due to the fact that he's not an elite vertical athlete. A lot of times those elite athletes, the players that run like a gazelle in the open space, that can just elevate over anybody, those are often the great transition players. But Blackwell, with his size and his strength, should just be able to kind of wedge off guys in transition, create space, and get to the rim anyway. He wasn't great there last year. This team wants to push the ball. They want to get in transition. Blackwell's got to get a little better there. And then increase the free throw numbers. If you look at John Blackwell from his freshman year to his senior year, his free throw rate actually dropped by about a free throw and a half or so per game. Now you have John Tonje leaving. Who fills the kind of the void of that player that leads his team in free throw attempts? That was a big part of Tonje's efficiency. When you talk about how efficient Tonje was, a lot of that was driven by his ability to get to the line and then cash in at the line. Blackwell's a good free throw shooter. He has to get to the line more. Use that physicality, use that size, and just use that patience that he has around that rim, that basketball IQ. He's got to jump that free throw rate this year. Let's see. Questions and thoughts in the chat as well. If you guys have any, let me know. So that's Blackwell. Kind of big picture here. I think he's the alpha of this team. Boyd is going to fit into that role, but I think he's really good. He's really talented. I just would love to see a little more consistency and a little more of a jump. Much is expected here. I think he's a star. How big of a star? We're going to see this year. Let's get to Nick Boyd. Again, good, bad questions. I think a lot of people are obviously very familiar with John Blackwell in his game. Nick Boyd's a little different. Let's start with the good. Veteran point guard, 82 career starts, Final Four experience, intense competitor. Blackwell, listen, as a point guard, as a point guard, you need experience. This dude has played he's had 82 career starts. This is bringing in like a veteran quarterback for your offense. He's been in the Final Four. You're not going to go to Ann Arbor this year, or you're not going to go to Indiana or Iowa or wherever, UCLA, and have this guy fold under pressure. Maybe he doesn't win the game. Maybe he misses a shot, but Nick Boyd just brings tremendous veteran poise and experience. And then intense competitor. You could say, well, Ryan, how do you know he's an intense competitor? Because I've been to practice. Guys, he is jawing at people. These are drills, and he's getting after people to get them in the right spots. He is arguing with Coach Krabbenhoff in a practice about, no, that was a point. That was a point. Give that to us. He is a very intense competitor. That's from people I've talked to in the program, but that's also from what I've seen. All of that bodes really well. High-level pick-and-roll ball handler, the ability to exploit defenses. Again, going back to synergy, 75th percentile as a pick-and-roll ball handler. And when you watch film on him, it checks. He's really good at exploiting. If a defense tries to jump him, they try to double him. He's really good at finding the open guy. Plays with a great pace and great patience in the pick-and-roll game. He's really, really good there. And with a team with the shooting and the spacing that Wisconsin has, his ability in the pick-and-roll to not just find that first matchup, but find that second matchup to attack mismatches to stretch the defense. He's really, really good there. And then he's just explosive north and south. He has great north and south ability in transition. Really fast, gets the ball up quickly. Again, with the shooting Wisconsin has, it's going to be typical. It's going to be really difficult for opposing teams defensively to match up with Wisconsin in transition defense. Boyd brings a lot of that. He's one of the quicker guards Wisconsin will have had in several years. And he really, really, off a make or a miss, is going to push tempo. I think it's going to be a big part of this Wisconsin offense this year. Some of the questions with Nick Boyd. If you go back and look at his San Diego State time last year, non-elite defensive metrics and at a lower level of play. Now, that's still a strong conference, the MWC, but it's not the Big Ten. He was 45th percentile defensively last year, 40th percentile in pick and roll ball handling. So defending the pick and roll ball handler, he was less than average when you start to stack it against all other point guards in Division I, which is what Synergy does. It stacks it up against every other point guard every other player in Division I. Not as good as you would hope for a team that needs to get better at pick and roll ball handling. So will that get a lot better? Will it get worse? He's jumping up a level of competition. I think it's fair to say I would be surprised if I saw elite defensive metrics from him. He has to be solid. Can he be solid? Well, that's a question. Jump shot, will it be efficient enough? So you go back and look at Nick Boyd last year. He shot at about 35% from three. He was 59th percentile on three-point shots, which is okay. It's decent. But this offense is really going to hum if every player is shooting really well. Through a couple exhibition games, Nick Boyd hasn't shot it great. I'm not too worried about those. But there is a fair question of just how efficient his three-point shot is. And if it, for whatever reason, for whatever reason, it drops off a little bit coming to Madison, that pick and roll game that we just talked about, it becomes a lot less impactful because then teams are just going to go under. He needs to shoot well enough that teams go over the screen for him. And if they go over the screen, then that pick and roll manipulation completely unlocks for Nick Boyd, and it unlocks this offense for the Badgers. And then just below average rim finisher. If you look at his metrics and just go watch some film, 35th percentile at the rim. I think a lot of that is actually tied to the fact that his right hand isn't a strength. Certainly can use it, but he wants to get to the left, and he's not a great vertical athlete. So at the rim, bigger opponents, especially in the Big Ten, he might struggle a little bit finishing there. So that's kind of the questions with Boyd, Blackwell. Let's get some questions and thoughts here. The Real says, is JB due? JB is due. No, he's not even asking. He's saying JB is due for a legacy here. Let's go. Let's go. He also asked, do you think that JB and Nick will blend well together? Do you think they will take too much of the shot volume? Oh, I'm going to star that. That's a great question. I have to take a break. I'm going to come back to that one. Matt says, also, do you have a question about him taking, I missed his first one. Sorry. Matt asks, my biggest question is, can he knock it down from deep at a higher level? 32% last year. Need that to jump as potentially the main guy this year. I think so. It's a really good question, Matt. This is about Blackwell. It's a really good question. I think he can, John Blackwell. I think last year was a little out of his comfort zone. He became a little bit more of the point of attack that people were focused on, and he became more of the ball handler. I think as a catch and shoot guy, even with volume, you're going to see that percentage tick up. I don't think he's a 38% guy, but I think he can get to 35, 36. I think the form is there. He's a mid-70 free throw shooter. Usually that translates pretty well to perimeter shooting, as you know. Obviously, by the way, Matt is a big hoop head. He definitely knows the sport. I think he can get better. I don't think it's going to be elite, but I think it's going to be good enough where it elevates every other part of his game. All right, we're going to take a quick second here. Coming up next, we got more of your questions, thoughts. We're going to get into Janicki and Braeden Carrington as well, the good and the questions, breaking it down before this year's basketball season. I'm so excited for it. But first, we need to take a quick second for our friends of the show. A quick second, as always, to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Gametime. College football is back. College basketball is almost here, as we're talking about. There's no better place to get in on the action than Gametime. Get the tickets to the events you want to go to. Get the tickets to be in the stadium and in the atmosphere with your people, whether it's your family or the fans. Be in those environments and get there with Gametime. There's not a better place to get those tickets with Gametime. Last minute flash deals. You get the price you see on the screen is what you're going to pay over Gametime. How many of us have bought something and then when the final price comes up, you're like, whoa. Let's TiVo this back a little bit. That's way too much money. That's not what I agreed to. That's not Gametime. What you see is what you're going to pay. You're going to get great tickets to incredible environments at the lowest rates with flash deals and amazing flexibility. Pictures of the seats before you sit down. Let's take the stress out of buying tickets over at Gametime. Right now, download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON, COLLEG for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. NBA is back. I just got done watching my Phoenix Suns, by the way, beat the Spurs. Let's go. Devin Booker. And there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel. Right now, it's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Plus, there are super incredible, fun ways to do this over in FanDuel with live in-game betting. So even if you miss the start of the game, or if you want to just ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for an even bigger payout. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's get back into this. Really do appreciate everybody being here. You guys are awesome as amazing. Awesome as always. Michael Gardner says, my biggest question is, can we defend the paint against some of these better front courts in the Big Ten? So I'm doing a show next on winter wrap. That's probably more of a question for that show, but I will star it and talk about it on that show. And Bo Dragon just says no. Bo ever the optimist just says no. I do think it's going to be a struggle, though, to be completely fair. Perimeter defense, interior defense, I think even rebounding, those are some of my biggest questions for the team this year. All right, let's get into Andrew Rohde a little bit. Talking Rhode, Good. Again, the questions, what we think he's going to do this year. Rhode coming over as a transfer player from Virginia. Elite floor game. He just has a really, really strong, high IQ offensive floor game. High level passer. Probably the best passer on the team. Tremendous feel in the pick and roll. He's able to deliver pocket passes to rolling big men. Really, really talented passer. Understands spacing, understands vision, high IQ guy. Excellent spot-up shooter. Quick release. 99th percentile in synergy in spot-up shooting. That's about as elite as it gets in college basketball last year. And that was at Virginia. A real level, high-level competition. He absolutely, when he was able to spot up, get a nice pass, he was as good as you could find in college basketball last year. 96th percentile in catch and shoot. Strong overall team defender, 84th percentile defensively and 73rd percentile in isolation defense. So when he's guarding somebody kind of on the perimeter by himself, he was 73rd percentile in the country. It's good, right? Everything we talked about there, you like everything about it. I think it meshes really well with this team. You're talking about kind of a high-level glue guy, essentially, with the ability to shoot. I would call the glue guy plus, right? You have Elmer's glue, which is like the standard you get. This is like super glue. I think he's super glue. Questions. Some of the things, and again, these aren't necessarily bad things. These are just questions that I think I have. I think the lack of athleticism shows up a little bit near the rim. If you look at synergy, it's not pretty. The film is the film. 4th percentile at rim finishing. So shots offensively for him at the rim, layups, dunks, those type of things. He's in the 4th percentile in college basketball. Again, 99th percentile is really good. 4th percentile is really bad. And I think you see bigger athletes swallow him up at the rim. He's a little one-dimensional offensively. He's a shooter, a passer, but getting into the rim, getting into the paint, being a post-up guy, he just lacks the vertical athleticism for the spot he's going to be playing, especially in the Big Ten, in the ACC, SEC, some of the big-time conferences. He's not going to be getting near the rim and finishing at a high clip. Last year, career best shooting numbers. Fact or fiction, right? The 2 previous years for Andrew Rohde. So I just talked about 99th percentile on spot ups, 96th percentile on catch and shoot. 2 years ago, those numbers weren't as high. 3 years ago, those numbers weren't as high. He shot a career best last year. Will that continue? Are we getting that version of Andrew Rohde? I actually tend to think so. FYI, having watched practice, talked to people in the program, he shot it really well so far in his time in Madison. But it's a fair question. Which version of that shooter are we getting? And then I think my last question is, I was watching a lot of Rhode film offensively, and there were times where better perimeter athletes could just crowd him. He's not a great, in my opinion, I could be completely wrong, I don't think he's a great ball handler, right? I think he's a guy that if better wing athletes, perimeter athletes, the type that the Big Ten has, by the way, really want to get in his grill, I think he's kind of forced to retreat and give up space. He kind of he protects the ball, puts it on his back hip, backs up a little bit, creates space. Instead of attacking that pressure like elite ball handlers, elite guards, and getting into the paint, I think it kind of forced him off his spot. I'll be curious if that's the case. That's just kind of what I saw in film. So I think if you're going to wrap up Andrew Rohde all together, I think you're getting a good passer, a good shooter, a good team defender that can play in isolation a little bit, but not a great athlete and not somebody who's going to create a ton of shots off the bounce. Really solid player. Every team needs these guys. You need glue guys. Again, I think he's maybe super glue, but not a star. Could he be a star in his role? I think it's certainly possible. Michael says, I like Rhode as a 6-man, but I think he's a bit underwhelming as a starter in the Big Ten. And that could be. That could be fair. He played pretty well at Virginia. I would like to point out, Virginia is, from a competition standpoint, it's basically comparable to the Big Ten, to the Badgers. He was pretty good at Virginia. So I think he'll translate here, but it's not like a star. He's not going to come in and be an all Big Ten guy. And I certainly don't want to sell that. Real Shaw says, is Rhode going to play like a Klesmit role? Yeah, I think that's it, right? I think he's not the same as Klesmit. I think Klesmit was a little better ball handler, a little better playmaker off the bounce. I think Rhode is a little bigger. I think he's a better pure shooter. Klesmit was just so streaky at times, but I think it's that type of role. All right, let's get into Braeden Carrington. Again, good. The questions, a new player in the program coming over from Tulsa. It's important to kind of, I'm hoping to kind of introduce some of these players to fans and go a little deeper with them as well as the season is on the brink here. Let's talk good. Veteran, 80 career games, 29 starts, well-built shooting guard. He's 6'4", 96%. Oh, this is a good one here. I'm going to pause on that one. So again, what are you getting? You're getting a well-built 6'4" guard with size, with experience. He's played in the Big Ten. He started 29 games. He's played in 80. Just somebody who's not going to get rattled. Veterans matter in college sports. Football, basketball, volleyball, whatever it is. Veterans matter. This is another guy you're going to bring in that's not going to get overly phased by road environments. He's played in the Big Ten already. And just some of the headiness. If you actually look on Synergy, he's 96th percentile in kind of last second shots. It speaks to a veteran, right? It speaks to somebody who's not rattled in big moments. It speaks to a guy with 4 seconds left. If the ball gets swung to him, he doesn't panic. He bangs the shot. A solid shooter, 55th percentile in jump shots. And then he has the size and physicality on defense to play at the rim. He's actually pretty tough to score on at the rim. 73rd percentile at the rim defensively. And again, that's across all of college basketball, all of D1. So you're talking forwards and centers as well. He's in the upper 75th percentile-ish to play some rim defense. And I think that's because he's got that 6'4" frame. He's pretty tough. He's well-built. He's a veteran. He challenges shots pretty well. It's an interesting little part of his game there. Offensively, if we start looking at questions, I think he's limited. Like, I don't think you want Carrington dribbling, trying to make plays off the bounce. I think you just want him spotting up and shooting. Limited offensive game outside of catch and shoot. He was 37th percentile across all offensive possessions last year. I just don't think he's got a versatile offensive game. Again, I would love to be wrong. These are just my takes. I could be completely wrong. Some pick and roll defensive issues last year, 42nd percentile guarding the pick and roll, ball handler, and then not a great finisher at the rim, 44th percentile at the rim. So what are you getting? Wrap it all up with Braeden Carrington. I think you're getting a veteran, a guy who can shoot, a guy who understands his role, can play solid defense, but isn't a lockdown defender and isn't going to give you a lot offensively outside of the catch and shoot game. A good player coming off the bench. Okay, let me see if we got any comments or questions in here. Ben Wilson said, I love seeing the overreactions from the Platteville scrimmage. Oh, I mean, people are going to overreact one way or the other when you have limited data points. This is the internet for sure. Let's see what else we got in here. See if there's any other comments or questions on here. Michael says, if we're talking backcourt today, I think backcourt is the strength of our team this year. Yeah, I do too. I think your best player is probably Blackwell. I think Boyd is a really good player. You have depth behind them with Carrington, Janicki. I think this is the strength of your team for sure. I kind of lumped Rhode in here, but you can lump Rhode into the front court or the back court. Michael says our 1 through 3 is really good. Landon, will guards start the same 5 all season barring injury? Yes. I would be stunned if one of these guys, one of the starters, fell out of the rotation. I mean, certainly Winter's not going anywhere. Blackwell's not going anywhere. Boyd's not going anywhere. If there was a change to be made, Rapp's not going anywhere. I think Rhode would be the guy if there was a change. And the change would be maybe it's Braeden Carrington being the starter, but I just don't see that. I do not see it. Bo says Carrington is the wild card. The real Shaw says, I think Braeden and Janicki are going to be the sparks that this team will feed off of. They will play good defense and bring high energy off the bench. It's very well said. They're going to need it, right? They're going to need those 2 guys to be spark plugs for this team. All right. Appreciate everybody so much. Brian says, are we missing Crowell yet? Always missing my guy, Steven Crowell. But for real, you're going to miss him. Like I've been saying it, you're going to miss a 7-foot center that's there every single game and shoots a high percent. I'm done. I won't go down that rabbit hole again. But I think Noah Winter is going to be really good for this team as well. We're going to do a front court show coming up. But again, just wanted to kind of do a primer on all the key players on this roster, what to expect. Season starts tomorrow. I'm so excited for it. Thank you for being here on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk tomorrow.